David, an indie musician in Spotify's top 100 most streamed artists worldwide currently, was on tour just last month, with his car parked at the Hollywood Hills for weeks on end. He's rich after all, always has been. His family was extremely well-to-do, so what's one towed car and a bank account worth millions? Well, after the towing, it became very clear that this was not just any old spoiled celebrity misbehavior, as police were eventually called to investigate a strange odor emanating from the car, only to find that the trunk of the car was home to a badly decomposed body of a teenage girl, about 5'2" and 31 kilograms, implying serious malnourishment. And to top it all off, a shush tattoo matching exactly to the tattoo on David's finger. So of course, David was taken in for questioning and is currently in custody, right? Well, that's where things get a little bit more complicated. Because strangely, as of today, he isn't even being considered as a suspect for the death of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, which is the name of this poor girl. And the reason as to why is pretty shocking to say the least. So I thought today we'd go over everything that we could regarding this case, as well as David and Celeste's relationship, starting all the way back from live stream clips found of the two of them from years back when Celeste was only 13 years old, and ending with clips of the two of them that are as recent as a few weeks ago. And for those who still don't exactly know who David is, trust me, you probably do. We'll play the hooks to his two most popular songs now, and if you've been on the internet for any amount of time in the last 3 years, you've definitely heard these.
In the back of my mind, I don't care.
So yeah, a massive musician. I'll now play the first publicly available clip of the two of them together on a stream a couple years back when Celeste was only 13 years old. And a lot of information is revealed in this one clip already, and we'll get to that, but I also want to explain how exactly they are alleged to have met.
Wait.
Oh, look it. Answer that one. That's so mean if you don't answer
Which
that.
one? What's good, David? Big fan, big spot. Oh, thank you, Mitochondria. Appreciate you.
I gotta stop with him if you even...
We
need to delete this.
Maz, can we delete all VODs? And then as soon as the stream ends, delete the stream too?
Now, that's the first video I could find. There are pictures from 2023 even. That was from January 2024, that video. David, as of right now, is 20 years old, so back then he would have been 18 years old, while Celeste would have been 13 to 14. Before we look at the next clip, I should probably make it clear that it is most likely that the two of these people met on a game of Fortnite, as David's first gig before his music started to blow up was Fortnite streaming. In fact, the way that he actually got into music was that when he would make videos on Fortnite, his videos always got copyrighted because he would use other artists' music, so he decided to make his own, and as it happens, some of them went viral. Because he just so happened to be incredibly talented at making music at such a young age. So soon after meeting online, they decided to meet up regularly in real life and stream together, and I'll play another clip from their stream now, which is a lot more popular than the last one, and also a whole lot more disturbing.
I media trained you.
No, you didn't.
That's controversial.
It's controversial of raping kids.
Really good.
Okay,
It's been a good one. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Mwah, 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 mwah. Oh my! Delete everything. Delete everything. Everything goes.
So you'll notice in these streams that Celeste is constantly very much covered up, and this becomes a running trend because it's alleged that Celeste would constantly try to hide how old she actually was, because questions would obviously arise if someone as young as 13 was hanging out with David, who is an adult by this point. So obviously when she makes a joke like that, which worst case scenario isn't a joke at all, I mean, whilst there's no definitive evidence, it's not too far-fetched to say that something like that could be going on if David and Celeste are hanging out this regularly. And especially with what we know right now, it's very unlikely that Celeste would just say something like that if nothing was happening between the two of them. Just to be clear, there is and was nothing definitive regarding the two of their sort of relationship. At least sexually. We do know that Celeste was at the very least claiming to have a boyfriend named David. Again, more on that later though. You can see David in that clip there obviously saying to delete everything. That is in reference to the moderators of the stream, people who run his streaming account, to delete everything because obviously he doesn't want stuff like this staying public. Because whilst David is known to sing about very dark topics, there is a lot of murder and sort of dark themes in his music videos, in his music. There's still an underbelly of corporateness and sort of shine to everything that happens in his career. Like, it's all very high production and once again, very corporate. I guess controlled is the best way to put it, right? Now I'll jump about 2 years before this stream where David made a Discord server that we'll be looking at a lot in this video, where him and Celeste would regularly regularly interact, as well as a bunch of other members of David's community. As far as we can tell, the Discord server was made shortly after this tweet, where David wanted to do a romantic homicide watch party, which is his most popular song, with over 200 million views now, I think, something crazy like that. Interestingly, the song was actually released on Celeste's 12th birthday as well. Could it be a coincidence? Maybe, but when you add that on top of the matching tattoos, the stream they did together, that joke that Celeste made, it certainly does not paint a good image. Their first public interaction was on the 24th of October when David was checking whether or not Celeste was in the Discord server that was made. It's a little silent for about a year, but a year after that first message, David posts birthday suicide on the Discord. I'll check if that's a real song that actually got released. No, seems to just be a demo that was posted on the Discord. About a day or two after David releases his EP, known as The Lost Petals, they make a shared playlist on Spotify, and it was about 2 months later when the aforementioned first picture of David and Celeste was released on Discord by a user named Lamp, who questions who the girl is. David responds with "You are a Fed," which once again is not a good look at all. It seems as though not only was David aware of just how young Celeste was, but everyone in his community was also just as aware, which makes you question who exactly was in this guy's community in 2023, and why were they all okay with this? Even when you go back to the live streams, when you look at the chat, when you look at the people reacting to said video, it's all laughs, it's all jokes. No one seems to be taking it seriously back then. Obviously, they don't know where this situation is going to end up and where it is right now, but still, the writing was slightly on the wall that something strange was happening, something very immoral and disturbing was going on here. Not even just online as well, but Celeste's parents and the people around David and her must have known something was going wrong, because Celeste was very, very known in her neighborhood and her community for running away constantly. This will become very important later because Celeste's parents actually lied to the authorities about the last time when they've seen her. A few days after that first picture, David makes a song entitled, bluntly, Celeste. I'll tell you what, if there's one thing that's a little bit annoying about this case, it's that these songs are actually, they're quite good. Now, it should be mentioned that David was dating a girl named Celeste, and this is a lot more public, this one. It's not the same Celeste that was eventually found dead in David's car, though. There's just two girls that happen to be called Celeste. It is a bit confusing, but you gotta stay with me here, because it's very likely that this song here isn't about the Celeste who was eventually found dead, but the Celeste that David was a lot more public about dating. This second Celeste was a lot older, 23 years old, and his name's Celeste Herrera.
Celeste, the girl with my name tattooed on her chest. Smell her on my clothes like cigarettes.
I mean, you can definitely tell why David was as popular a musician as he is right now, because the music that he's making definitely fits what is currently popular. This kind of music goes off on platforms like TikTok, for example. To put it bluntly, he's a record label's wet dream currently. Like, even the weirdness, the wackiness, the sort of dark themes in this music, it makes him stand out a little bit. In a weird way, it makes him that much more marketable, but I think a lot of that came down to people not believing he was actually that fucked up and twisted in real life. And a large part of the reason for that is because he attributed a lot of the darkness to his alter ego named Itami, which many consider to be just a character, right? Not real.
Make this first music video introduce a character that I had been kind of ideating for a really long time. That's why you see him with the blindfold and the bloody shirt aesthetic and the bow tie. I'm really big into anime and I'm really big into manga. And I wanted to make my own manga series at one point, and I was writing a lot of poems and writing a lot of things for it. And a big part of that manga was an evil version of me named Itami, which means pain in Japanese. And he wears this blindfold, and he's basically an agent of chaos and kind of my alter ego. And the story of the manga went like I was a detective, and there was an evil version of myself that would kind of come out at random moments, kind of like Fight Club with Tyler Durden. And he would commit the crimes that I would have to solve as the detective. So like when I was as the detective, I'd be like solving murders that I'm committing myself. And it was like a cool little story. I didn't think anything would come of it. Like, it was in the vault for like months and months and months. And I introduced it for the first time on screen because I had the opportunity with music to kind of explore this idea further with the romantic homicide music video.
He made a tweet about Itami as well with this official picture of him being released and referred to him as a character in the expansive David verse. Let's actually have a look at how Itami acts in the romantic homicide video. So yeah, I'll play it muted obviously because of copyright, but you can see Itami or David here, and the music video is essentially depicting Itami, whatever you want to call him, murdering a young girl. Now once again, this could purely just be coincidence, especially when you listen to the actual themes of the song, right? It's about forgetting that a girl has existed existed, right? Getting over someone. So murdering the girl is meant to be sort of symbolic of just murdering them inside of your head, but they're alive, right? It's the lyrics. In the back of my mind, you died, but physically you're alive. Something like that, right? You get the idea. It's not as though the music video and the song are about murdering a young girl and putting them in the trunk of your car. So there is some plausible deniability here, but once again, these things individually, they wouldn't really be a big deal, but when you combine everything together, everything that ties both David and Celeste together, and how close they clearly were, even at the time closer to Celeste's eventual death, it certainly isn't a good look. And for those wondering why I've not given any sort of hard accusatory statements yet, and I won't, by the way, it's because I'm a fucking YouTuber. I don't think I'm in the position to choose who is guilty definitively and who isn't, right? I'm just here to give you all the information that is publicly available and add my opinion every now and then. There are certainly things that look worse or look better than other things in this story, but I am not comfortable making a hard decision on who is guilty and who is not, especially because the authorities aren't even comfortable doing that yet. What I am comfortable in saying is that at the very least, David is a very strange and very awful person. He's also far more likely than not to be a hugely manipulative predator who uses power dynamics to his advantage massively. Whether or not he's an actual murderer, though, I hope you can understand why I'm not comfortable making that accusation. Although, of course, if you had to pick one person who was most likely to do it that we're aware of, you would go with David. However, the police aren't even sure that this was a homicide yet, which is why David hasn't been considered a suspect as of right now, because they aren't even sure the cause of death of Celeste. All we know was that she was dead for a minimum of 2 weeks before she was eventually found, and that she was extremely malnourished. In February 7th, about a month after the live stream clips that you've all been seeing recently, David posted a TikTok making reference to Hello Kitty and Sanrio. Now, this is very important because Celeste was known to also be a huge Hello Kitty fan. In fact, the last piece of clothing that she was known to be wearing publicly was Hello Kitty merchandising. Now, whether the two of them were able to bond over their mutual appreciation for Hello Kitty, or one got the other into it, we won't know. All we can say for sure is that, once again, it's two pieces of evidence that prove that they were very, very close. Definitely too close for an adult and a child. And on top of that, a huge musician and a fan. On the 9th of February, David released a song titled Leave Her, and very interestingly, only 6 days later, Celeste ran away from her family for the first time that we can see. This is the missing persons report that was made on the 16th of February. People were, of course, speculating the worst, and they were trying to track whether or not she was active or even alive using her social media and when she was reposting TikToks. Now, she did end up coming home a few days later, so this particular case wasn't a huge deal, but it is important to show the pattern of behavior where Celeste would regularly run away. Now, this actually isn't the most alarming thing for council estates or places where a lot of children who didn't grow up as well-to-do happen to reside. Like where I grew up, for example, kids would just go missing very regularly, and it wasn't really ever reported to the police. Like, the parents would sort of go out, like, where the fuck is this kid? They'd be gone for hours a lot of the time. The worst was never assumed. It's just sort of a thing that happens in council estates, and what is the American version of a council estate? Public housing projects, or the projects. So I'm assuming it's sort of similar there as well. In places like that, we don't really have as many video games. The kids a lot of the time play outside, and a lot of them get lost and stay out for longer than they should. Things like these do happen, so as much as this may be a huge warning sign to many, I don't think it's as much of a reason to be worried as many are making it out to be at the time. Because for those who don't know, Celeste did not grow up in the best of conditions, right? When you see the videos, it was very obviously quite a lower class family in the project, which is a huge contrast to the family that David grew up in. David was very upper class. He was homeschooled, his family was very Christian, and they had a lot of money from the beginning, basically. Now, this only could have made it easier for David to groom and manipulate Celeste, right? Not only is there the power dynamic of David being a huge artist, but there's also now the power dynamic of him having a lot of money. So you can imagine what he was telling Celeste this whole time, right? Especially if he, you know, was interested in her in that way. Like, I'll take care of you, I've got everything, you won't need to worry about a thing ever again. And you can understand why Celeste would want or feel that it's okay or best for her to run away from her parents and stay with David, right? You can understand why she would see David as the better alternative, especially because the parents, in my opinion, are quite sketchy, fishy characters, for reasons that you'll soon see. And I do want to remain sensitive here, because those same parents have just lost a daughter. But they do tell some pretty huge lies that make me question things slightly. Only a month after she was found, she went missing again. On the 19th of March 2024, there were lost posters of her all over the city that they live in. This is the most popular missing persons report on the 5th of April 2024, which is when Celeste's parents claim to have last seen her. Right, the last date where they knew where Celeste was the 5th of April 2024. Remember that, it'll be important later. And as you can see here, she was last seen wearing Hello Kitty sandals. About 2.5 months later, on June 27th though, we could see Celeste backstage with David on TikTok. So it seems as though she'd run away for a much more definitive amount of time this time with David, like actually.
Celeste, the girl with my name tattooed on her chest.
That's David's brother right there that Celeste can be seen with. And once again, as you can see, she's constantly covering herself up, not only to hide her age, but also maybe to hide that she's there at all. If she's run away from her parents, you'd think that she doesn't really want to be seen too publicly, and that she was not aware that this video was being taken of her and being posted online. And if she was aware, she certainly would not have been okay with it. Quite a mysterious account was made around this point called Yay Woohoo, and they started posting regular pictures of David. You can see here that David is seen kissing said person with an emoji on their head and the fucking hickey on his neck. I guess it's also important to remember that David is also quite young. You know, as of right now, he's 20 years old, so when this picture was taken, he was around 19. It's also important to remember that David did not have a conventional upbringing at all. Like I said before, he was homeschooled, he was quite well off, and became a celebrity very young. This is not someone who was socialized with people the same way that most individuals are, which does help us understand exactly why he thought the behavior he was exhibiting was okay, acceptable, or that he'd get away with it at all. You can see David here posting on his official account that he misses someone, and it's titled Softest Soft Launch of All Time. Does look very similar to the car in person that was the owner of the Yay Woohoo account. We're not sure exactly who is the owner of that account, but it is, I guess, alleged to be Celeste by many people. It could also be the other Celeste, right? Celeste Herrera, who David was actually publicly interacting with. It could also just be some other random girl that David was interacting with. You know, especially if David is single, he doesn't exactly seem like the type to stay monogamous, right? He definitely seems like a fuckboy. And I would also say, as much as Celeste Hernandez has reason to remain anonymous and not want to be seen by people, that could be said for pretty much any girl that is interacting with David in this manner. Either they want to remain anonymous or not seen by many, or David would rather that they're not seen by many, which leads them to make an account on TikTok known as Yay Woohoo that people don't know them by. So we really don't know exactly who it is. All we get is an arm and a little bit of hair. The hair is dyed, so if it is Celeste Hernandez, then she had to have dyed her hair. And also straightened it, because she has curly hair in the pictures that we see of her. It's possible, but we just don't know. Around the time of that post, Celeste Herrera was seen with David. You can see Celeste Herrera here, the 23-year-old, and David in the background. And these public showings of Celeste Herrera do coincide date-wise with the post that Yay Woohoo was making. So once again, we really don't know who was the owner of that account, but it is likely to have been Celeste Herrera. I would almost lean to the owner of that account not being the Celeste who ended up dead in the car. At the end of July, though, a girl who at the very least looks very similar to Celeste Hernandez was seen with David, though. Again, it's not definitive by any means, but it does really look like her this time. And we do know that they were around each other. Now, remember when I said that Celeste's parents were claiming that the last time they had seen their daughter was on April of 2024? This is where that becomes important, because September of 2024, in footage that was just released less than a week ago, Celeste can be seen in the neighborhood where her parents reside, yelling at neighbors. The video obtained by TMZ was recorded by a Nest camera on the 8th of September 2024, months after Celeste had been reported missing. And neighbors say it shows her going off on a family over a prank.
All the way up to the end?
Right there. I'll tell you where that. See that door right there? Number 2, not on it. Number 2 right there.
Let me talk real quick, okay? You gonna let me talk?
I ain't gonna let you talk.
No, you ain't gonna let me talk. Why you not gonna let me talk? You tripping. Nah, you tripping. How about you ain't tripping? You gonna let a woman talk? No. Alright, I'm not gonna let your woman talk.
Why is she over here? Again.
Okay, so that part's important. I'll play the rest of the clip, don't worry, but that part right there I think is very revealing. You can hear the neighbor go, "Why are you back here again?" So that means that this is not a one isolated occurrence here that Celeste returns to the home and then fucks off again, right? This is something that happens regularly. Celeste ran away, so it means that she was no longer living with her parents, but she regularly would come back to visit for whatever reason, maybe get angry and leave again, or maybe she was staying for extended periods of time. We really don't know. And we also know now that we can't exactly trust the parents and take their words at face value, because they lied about the last time when they seen her, which there's a variety of reasons why they could have done such a thing, but I'll let the clip play out first before we talk about that.
Little house, you don't even got a house.
Hey, bro.
You talk to
Ain't nobody black right here, homie. We're Southsiders right here, homie. We're Southsiders here. Get it right, homegirl. Shut up with your black talking. Shut up. You talking like you black, girl, with your black talking. Yeah. Yeah. Ain't nobody black right here. What are you talking about? I said we're not black over here. Why you keep calling us? You keep saying we're not black. Hey, let it go. Go back to your house. Go back to your house. You ain't gonna do nothing, bro. What you gonna do? You ain't no gangster. You ain't nothing, homie. What you are? What you are but a little girl? What you but a little girl? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
You need to go home. Seriously.
I'm not Mexican. Salvador, you tripping.
Oh my god.
Not Mexican. Tripping. Move the out of here.
You ain't gonna do shit. You ain't gonna do shit. You better get over there. Get your over there, little girl. Go there, little girl. You ain't gonna do shit. Go. Go. What are you gonna do, bro?
Go call her dad, babe.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, little girl?
So you can hear, it's not exactly the friendliest of neighborhoods that I would say, and it gives more of a reason as to why Celeste would want to run away to begin with, right? Because it doesn't look as though she is living under the best conditions, and you can imagine definitely the contrast between living there with racist neighbors and a sort of just tough living situation overall to living or being around David constantly, who is definitely not living under conditions like those, and is definitely showing her a bit of the higher life, right, so to speak. And while Celeste's parents weren't exactly seen in that video, we know that she was regularly visiting back to the neighborhood, right, seeing people in the neighborhood constantly. I think it's very likely that she was also seeing her parents at points as well, and even if she wasn't, her parents were definitely being told that Celeste was visiting regularly. What I'm saying here is that there is no way their parents genuinely only last saw her on April of 2024, or genuinely thought the last time she was ever around that neighborhood was April of 2024. Just because we don't have video evidence of them together as a family after that date, it doesn't mean we have to believe that that is genuinely the last time they were together. When video like that exists and we know that she was visiting regularly, I don't believe it, man. The parents knew she was coming back semi-regularly. But that leads to the question of, like, why on earth would the parents feel the need to lie about the last time they had seen her? Because anyone who's been in situations like these and has been questioned by people like the police, especially if you have a deep love or affection for the person who has been affected, right, the victim of whatever crime is being reported here, you tell them everything, right? You hide fucking nothing. Especially if you, in your heart of hearts, know that you have done nothing wrong, you tell them everything with no fear. If you want the best possible chance of finding the lost person that you love so dearly, in my mind, you don't fear being implicated enough to leave out details, especially because you know you've done nothing wrong. So any possible pieces of evidence that line you up to someone who may have been involved in this crime, ideally you should be able to shut them down relatively quickly. The only reason you wouldn't give information that is so important in cases like these, like the last time that you've seen your daughter, the only reason I can think you wouldn't tell them the full story is if you know more than you're letting on. Or if you've done something or know something or didn't do something maybe that you're not necessarily too proud of. I know this is very presumptuous, but I just don't understand why the parents of a daughter who has now been found dead wouldn't tell the police fucking everything that they know about the case. Why would they leave details out? And if I'm wrong about this somehow, then I truly do apologize, because I understand just how disgusting what I'm implicating is. And for the record, I don't think that they were in on this case or in on the criminality or in on the crime or any of that. I just think that they know a little bit more than they're letting on, and they have more of a reason to lie than they're letting on. It just genuinely baffles my mind that they would lie about something so important. Maybe it would have been different if they knew that that footage existed and would have been handed into TMZ. In fact, it most definitely would have been different, right? If they knew they'd been caught out on the lie, then they wouldn't have lied about it so stringently. It was the same month that video was recorded where David got the tattoo, the shush tattoo on his finger that is matching with Celeste's shush tattoo as well, which is again more evidence that they were very close to each other, right? They have fucking matching tattoos. I guess the most charitable explanation you could give to David here is that Celeste only got a matching tattoo because she was a fan of his and wasn't actually interacting with him, like on some weird parasocial bullshit. But then you remember, no, she was found in his fucking car apart, they definitely were around each other. About a month later, David could be seen with some unknown individuals with money in his hand. People were speculating, even on December of 2024, far before any of this became public, that David was giving kids over $1,000 to keep a secret that involved a minor. Now, the fact that speculations and theories like that were going around about a year ago, way before any of this possibly could have been as public as it is now, once again, does not paint a good picture at all. It sort of makes it seem as though there was some insider knowledge that you need to be in the industry to know that David was a fucking creep.
Like I said, man, my homie sent me this like 6 months ago. Something like that. I didn't even think about it at the time, bro. Fast forward to now, bro. It's crazy, bro. It's crazy to say something, bro. The news came out about the girl. I put 2 and 2 together, and now we got this pic, bro. Here we are with this pic, bro. I got in contact with the homie who showed me this picture in the first place, and he messaged this kid, and I'm about to show you those messages right now. Basically, it starts off with him, "If you really try to ruin your life, I will help you, bud." He says, "Dude, please. Actually, Ethan, you don't know how bad this is, bro." Says, "Explain how bad it is then." So he says, "Bro, this was a secret. This wasn't supposed to get out. David didn't know how old the girl was. She was lying and saying she was 19 when he was 20, and the second he found out, he took her home. And since we were dumbass kids, we tried to blackmail him, and we really messed up. And if you keep that video up, you could ruin his life for doing nothing wrong over a girl lying, and then you could ruin my life because he would know I leaked it. And I could go to jail for, like, slandering him." Bro's tweaking. Basically, after that, he says, "What's done in the dark always comes to light." He says, "Dude, you're weird. Why would you do that?" He says, "Why would you blackmail?" Then he starts asking him if that was her. And, bro, guess what happens next, bro? Dude just blocked him on everything, bro. And then he sent me his Instagram, too. And I can't find his Instagram, but he sent me that he blocked him on Instagram, too. The screenshot he sent me. But yeah, bro. So yeah, he blocked them on Instagram and TikTok right after.
Okay. So much can be said about this as well. It's very strange, it's very confusing, and it's very disturbing. For one, if it is true that David was being lied to this whole time about Celeste's age, which is very difficult to believe if they've had a relationship that has gone on for that many years, that David wouldn't have eventually found out what Celeste's real age was, or at the very least, that she was lying about being 19 years old. Actually, no, there's no way David thought that Celeste was 19, because in that first live stream clip, Celeste was joking about raping kids. And then in these Discord messages that you can see on screen right now, even David's fan base knew that he was talking to someone who was underage. Pretty sure he's dating right now. Yeah, her name is Celeste. And then you've got a deleted user here, which people have linked to be, what we know is that every deleted user in this Discord log is the same person. It's not multiple accounts that have deleted their account, right? I think they managed to link it back to like the same Discord ID, right? So if you click this deleted user as well as deleted user posting some other message, it is the same ID posting these messages. And you can see here that they have a David tattoo on their finger. I think it's written in henna. I don't think it's permanent by any means, but it definitely links up with the lyric in the Celeste song about having a tattoo on her chest with David on it. Obviously, it's not on her chest, but similar. You get the idea. Me and deleted user got a kid on the way. It's confusing because it's difficult to tell, and it's impossible to know really whether or not this is the Celeste that is older or the Celeste that is younger. We do know that David met Celeste Hernandez on Fortnite, and Celeste Hernandez was one of the first people to join this Discord. And we haven't really seen any evidence that Celeste Herrera was on this Discord. So if I had to choose as someone who isn't, you know, law enforcement or someone deeply involved in the case, I would say that David is most likely talking about Celeste Hernandez here. And this message also links up to some pregnancy rumors that will come up a bit later, which turned out to be false, by the way. And if anything, this should prove it here. Deleted user says, "I can't go to David because of the stupid age restriction." And that was in 2023. So Herrera would have been old enough to go. They would have been 21 years old by that point. Or 20, I should say. It was quite early in 2023. But either which way, they would have been able to see David, whereas Celeste Hernandez wouldn't have been able to. But David responds with, "Fake your age, everyone did." And once again, messages like these, it's like, did you really believe she was 19 then? People here throwing around pedophile accusations onto David over a year ago, even posting the exact missing poster of Celeste. And this is the 16th of August 2024, once again over a year ago. Really does not paint a pretty picture in the least. And if all of these people know that Celeste is in fact underage, then you can bet your fucking bottom dollar that David also knew for a fact that Celeste was underage. There's no way that just slipped under the radar. I just don't know, but once again, there is no evidence either which way that we absolutely can say for sure that David knew the age of Celeste. Obviously, we know now that she's dead, but when she was still alive and interacting with them all the time, we just can't tell whether or not he's actually telling the truth here, or even if he said that at all, right? There aren't really any definitive sources. And there are pictures where she does look a little older than 15 or 14 years old, but there are also pictures where she looks incredibly young. Again, I just don't know if there is enough evidence where we can conclusively say that David knew or thought that she was 19 or knew that she was younger, right? But then there's the question of, like, how truthful is this TikTok DM conversation? How truthful are those images and how truthful are the captions? Because for all we know, this could just be a random image of David giving money to people or David with cash interacting with people. Maybe he was buying drugs. Maybe he was paying for some other sort of, I don't know, service. It's very easy to take a picture of someone with money in front of someone else and then just caption it with whatever you want the story to be. And there is no hard evidence that this has anything to do with Celeste or anything to do with minors even. And even though it was done on December the 14th of 2024, way before any of this was public, I can easily understand why someone who just wants a bit of attention might think like, ooh, I've got video of a celebrity giving money to someone else. What is the most intriguing story that I could think of? Minors, of course. But then this DM conversation here, once again, it doesn't look good, but there isn't really any evidence either. It's just a TikTok account named G that has no history that we can find. He could just be completely lying. He could be pretending. These screenshots might just be fake. There is also a chance that all of this is completely real and as it seems, but I also want to make it clear that we are not here to take screenshots like this at face value 100% of the time. That's a very dangerous thing to do, especially in a case like this where the stakes are this high. You cannot just believe everything that's being told to you. Everything that we do know for a fact already paints David out to be a horrible, manipulative, predatorial piece of shit. So it's not as though we need to believe pieces of evidence that aren't conclusive in order to paint David out to be that villain, right? On the 2nd of February 2025, David posted a TikTok of him cleaning shoes that are similar to Celeste. So if you look up here, Celeste is wearing these shoes, and then the shoes that David was cleaning look exactly the same. But it's like, why would David post a video of him just cleaning shoes to his TikTok? Unless there was some sort of motive behind it, as though he's goading people who know Celeste owns those shoes. It's just a strange thing for a celebrity to post. Now, it was in April this year when David released the album Withered, which is the album that he was touring for at the time of Celeste's death. On the 10th of May, we were getting posts on David's Instagram with Celeste Herrera, not the Celeste who was found in the car, as well as the Asian gentleman that we saw earlier. As you can see, these comments are now flooded with people speculating. She never made it to her 15th birthday, justice for Celeste. Some people are aware that this was the other Celeste, of course. I mean, you can definitely understand why there was confusion. They do look relatively similar, although I will say, this Celeste does look older, right? She looks like an adult. 25th of July, you can see a similar post with David, the Asian dude, and Celeste Herrera again. You can see them appearing on streams together around this time as well. They were even wearing the same hoodie on the stream, which might explain why David was trying to get her out of the frame in that clip. Again, could be a coincidence, but why the fuck are they wearing the same hoodie and they have the same name and there's just so many things that link up to be wildly disturbing. Like, where is Celeste Hernandez during this whole ordeal? Because we know that she wasn't with her parents. To be fair, we don't even know that now. She most likely wasn't with her parents. He then toured all the way through August, and at the end of August, there was a Reddit post, which is not confirmed at all, that claims that friends lost contact with Celeste Hernandez around this time. Here's the post here, although once again, this is not confirmed at all. It could just be complete lies. It's only slightly reputable because the posts were made before this story became as huge as it is right now. So if it was a lie, it would be a slight coincidence for sure. Now, the 1st of September 2025 is when the Tesla finally comes into the picture, as neighbors reported it abandoned on Hollywood Hills Street. Okay, now let's actually talk about when the authorities found the car, how that came to be, and what's happening from this point. So like like I mentioned earlier, it was the 1st of September when this car being parked at the Hollywood Hills street for so long started to raise some sort of concern, right? That's when the neighbors called and reported that the Tesla was abandoned. 2 days later, once again, whilst David is on tour performing almost every day, the Tesla was ticketed, and 2 days later, the council had enough and figured, fuck it, we're taking your Tesla away. Because by the 5th of September, it had been around that spot for like a month now. And what use is a ticket if no one's around to actually, you know, look at it and be intimidated by it? And even if David were to come back, a ticket is fuck all to him. I mean, neither is a towing really, but I'm sure he wasn't expecting the car to get towed knowing what's inside it. That is assuming, of course, that David did know what was inside the Tesla, which we don't have confirmation of yet. So I'm not gonna sit here and act as though it's unlikely. It wasn't towed too far away, it's literally just a minute drive. Here's the Google Maps. And then here's the official vehicle report as well. 3 days later is when they finally discovered the body of Celeste Hernandez. I'll read it verbatim here. A badly decomposed body of a female about 5'2" and 31 kilograms or 70 pounds was found wrapped in a bag inside a Tesla's front trunk at Hollywood Tow Impound after reports of a strong odor. She was wearing a black tube top and leggings and had a shush tattoo matching David's. Her brother estimates that she had been dead roughly 2 weeks. Early reports mentioned possible dismemberment, but police later said they cannot yet rule the death a homicide. And to this day, despite it being like a month later, they still haven't ruled the death a homicide. I don't think it's too brazen for me to say that the malnourishment must have something to do with the reason for the death here. I mean, 31 kilograms is just so light that it can't be unrelated, you know what I mean? For someone who lives in America, who was clearly around all of these people who have a lot of money, like around them a lot, around them so much that their dead body was found inside of David's car and was inside of it for a lot longer than 2 weeks. Like, here's the thing, if the Tesla was left alone for over a month, surely the body has had to be in there for way more than 2 weeks. Like, it has to have been in there for at least the amount of time that the Tesla was parked there, like the full amount. Because surely if someone were to open the Tesla and put something inside of it, that would have been caught on camera. I mean, I'm assuming that there are cameras around the Hollywood Hills or wherever the car was parked. Maybe he found a blind spot specifically to hide his things, but then, even then, I'm sure you'd be able to find camera footage of, you know, around the area, leading to the area. I just struggle to believe that if anyone were to actually put something in the car, that it wouldn't have been caught. So it had to have been in there before it was even parked. And we're not sure who exactly parked it, by the way, either. Obviously, you'd assume that it's David because it's his car, but then again, it's like, you know, he's a massive celebrity who's on tour. He probably has a couple of fucking drivers with him. And maybe it wasn't even a driver, maybe it was just a friend, like we really just don't know. Interestingly, the tip that it was Celeste Hernandez in that car came from an anonymous source. And when TMZ contacted Celeste's mother, she all but confirmed it with the shush tattoo and also that she had a boyfriend named David. This is also when she told the police that the last time she'd ever seen her daughter was April of last year. I mean, there's a lot to talk about here because as much as I think the parents are hiding something, you cannot feel worse for somebody than having to identify your dead child's body. I know it's such a cliche thing to say and it almost means nothing because of how universally agreed upon it is, but no kid should ever die before any of their parents. Especially in a case like this that's just so ambiguous and you'll never really know what happened. I mean, I'm sure there's also that underlying sense of responsibility that you might have, that they left so many times, that they were the ones that run away. You know, you'll constantly be questioning yourself, like, what could I have done? Did I do something wrong? That same day, the LAPD conducted a raid into David's house at the Hollywood Hills, or at the very least, a home that was linked to David. They even broke the Ring doorbell camera, which seems unnecessary, but I guess go for it. You're the police, right? Now, a day after the body was identified, a video went viral pretty much everywhere of a teacher explaining how they used to teach Celeste Hernandez and how they used to date David and run away from home constantly. And one of the students ended up secretly recording the whole thing and posting it online, which I'm sure the teacher or the school or anyone involved there is not happy with at all. But the rest of us can point at it and go, this helps a lot, actually. In terms of clarity, this definitely does help. If you've not seen it, I'll play it and you'll see exactly what I mean, because fuck me, does this look bad.
Hold up. That's her in my classroom in front of this poster right here. Okay, hold up. I got another one because I got a picture on TMZ of this other kid exchanging stuff with the rapper who we alleged did this stuff. Hold on a second, because he's also in my classroom.
Wait, how long ago was this?
We all just found out yesterday who it was, but she's been missing since I taught her. So when I taught her, she met this dude on social media. He was a rapper in LA. He came and got her. She ran away from home.
Okay, real quick, I don't want to interrupt Ian Hawke from the Alvin and the Chipmunks franchise from speaking here, but I need to make it clear. This is just a little off topic, but it always irks me when people call people like David rappers. David wasn't a rapper. Like, let me just make it clear. David, I say wasn't, like, he's dead. He's still about, but he's not a rapper. He's a singer. He's an indie singer who makes sort of psychedelic, dark, dreamy music. He's not a rapper. The only reason you're saying that is because he's black. If David was white, no one would be calling him a rapper. Sorry, I know it's off topic, but we'll keep watching the video. Just wanted to make that clear enough.
The cops found her in Hollywood, brought her back to our school. She came back to our school, kind of told people this story. She disappeared again in May of that year, May of 2024. That's when her friends told me what happened, that it was this rapper, that they were like blackmailing him, all of this stuff. And then I found out yesterday that she's now dead in that rapper's car, cut into pieces. You want to know how they met? I feel like I just said it. Social media. Let me tell you another story. Okay, so you know what? I sort of missed that the first time that I watched this, but he mentions the blackmailing thing there, which I feel as though adds credibility to what we were looking at earlier with the whole money thing. Because when those pictures released of David giving people money with saying it was something to do with a minor, again, that was way before any of this became public. When you combine that with that teacher over there saying that he was blackmailing people to not tell others about the whole situation, once again, really doesn't paint a good picture. It adds credibility to both of those stories. I also don't know, again, this is a little off topic, but like that teacher, he's a little bit fucked in the head. Like for me, if I was a teacher and something like that had happened to a former student of mine, you don't like form a deep connection with them a lot of the time, but like you're not completely uncaring of them. If someone that you had, like if I even met someone one time in my life and something like this ended up happening to them, I don't think I'd be able to explain it this eloquently to a class full of children the day after and use it as like a teaching moment to why social media is bad. It's like that teacher might as well have just walked into class and gone like, you know what, class, technically if Fortnite never existed, this wouldn't have happened. It's like, yeah, true, but what are you doing, man? It's a day after. Like, I get the message of just, be careful on social media and that, but I don't know. The way that he presented the information just sort of irks me a little. I'm not sure if you know what I mean. Now, it was a day after this that David cancelled the rest of his tour. Only when they identified the dead body did he cancel the tour. When the dead body was found in his car, he kept going. Again, just very strange behavior on David's part. Surely, if you're a fucking musician and you're on tour and you have any kind of heart, even if you want to continue performing, that should shock you to your very core to a point where you literally cannot perform anymore. I know I certainly wouldn't be able to. TMZ actually contacted the Discord moderators of David's server and they all claimed that they had no idea Celeste was underage, which is a bunch of complete bullshit, obviously, from everything that we've seen in this video. Although Celeste did lie about her age on her Discord profile, it was very obvious that she was in fact a minor based on what everyone was saying. Like, if even the people who aren't moderators knew, the moderators fucking knew. They did say that they had minimal contact with David and David's management, which I do believe though, because why on earth would David and his management talk to fucking Discord moderators? 6 days after the tour was cancelled, there was a candlelight vigil for Celeste. It's on screen right now. David did not attend, which I guess makes sense, but for me personally, if I know I'd done nothing wrong, and I had known this girl to some extent, then, no, but then again, it's like, the reason you knew her is because you were having an inappropriate relationship with her as a minor, whilst you're this massive celebrity who is also a fucking adult, so it makes total sense why he didn't attend, actually. On the 23rd of September, David ended his Hollywood Hills $20,000 lease during the Celeste Rivas investigation, which is totally, not suspicious at all, moving out exactly when people are starting to search your house for the dead body that you were just found with in your car. So this is actually insane. I'll show it to you now. It's the last known, well, this is what was thought to be the last recording of Celeste known when she ran away, before it was revealed that the neighbors had a recording in September of 2024 as well. So this is March of 2024 when Celeste ran away. It's a camera footage from a liquor store which keeps recordings that are even years old for some reason. I'm not sure if that's standard procedure, but it's incredibly useful here. And if it is true, which once again I doubt, that this is genuinely the last time that the parents will ever have seen their daughter, then words can't even describe how genuinely sad that is. But I'll play the footage now.
TMZ has obtained video from the March disappearance. It was captured by a surveillance camera down the street from Celeste's home in Lake Elsinore, California. There's Celeste, right there, at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday. This was March 19th. Where she's going and why she starts to run is unclear. But one thing is certain. This minute-long video is critical to what came next in her young life, as is personal information about Celeste herself from the man who owns the cameras. I spoke a short time ago about all of this with TMZ executive producer Charles Ladibodiere, and here's our conversation.
It's just so weird. Everything about this video is incredibly confusing. The parents are obviously not very observant. You know, Tuesday, 7 a.m., that's sort of the time where you'd get ready for school, or maybe even be in school in some places in America. But like I said before, this was not a very well-to-do area, right? It's the projects, and a lot of people just don't have the time or privilege to be worrying about that sort of thing at that point, or to be prioritizing that sort of thing, I should say. So I'm not saying it's completely the parents' fault for being gobshites, because they genuinely could have had her best heart in mind. It's just so difficult to tell, and it's quite unlikely when I believe they were lying about the last time they'd seen her. But then also the fact that she ran away at all, like, girls don't just run away from home permanently on a random Tuesday at 7 a.m. Something must have been going on in that home that wasn't pleasant, to say the least. And then to run away without a bag or a purse or anything, really? A witness said that she got into a waiting car, so it was very likely that this thing was pre-planned and that she was, like, you know, conspiring with somebody beforehand and running away to a car where they were parked, or they were, I don't know, arranging for someone to pick her up. Where David fits in that story, I can't say for sure, but he's definitely somewhere in there. The only thing we can really say for sure about Celeste and David is that Celeste is incredibly young and troubled, and that David is like this. He has this idea of himself as sort of a hopeless, pained romantic that deludes himself into a state of grandeur that is a lot higher than he realistically is. Like, he's just a person, like every other fucker on the planet. But he genuinely sees himself as this, like, prophet that is able to foresee what feelings and emotions feel like without ever having experienced them. And he loves using these really dark themes like murder and death and blood and alter egos to portray his art with. But to him, I feel like it's not just art. He's actually let that shit invade his real life. And it's all just boiled over to a point where there is an actual 14-year-old girl in the trunk of his car, malnourished to such a point that they are only 31 kilograms.
This morning, detectives proceeding cautiously as they investigate the death of a missing California teenager whose body was found in a car belonging to popular singer-songwriter David. How 15-year-old Celeste Rivas died and whether a crime was committed remain crucial questions that sources tell ABC News could take weeks, even months, to answer.
Whether a crime was committed. I mean, she's in a fucking bag in the back of a car. This is also partly the reason why I don't understand why they haven't ruled it a homicide yet. There's no way this was an accident, and there's no way it was a suicide, because if she were to kill herself, how was she going to tie herself inside of a bag and put herself in the back of a fucking car? Even if by some 1 in a million chance she wasn't murdered by anybody and just happened to die by happenstance or some other mysterious circumstance, then that means someone still had to take her, put her in a bag, and stuff her in the trunk of a fucking car. Surely there should at least be an investigation as to who was the fucking person who hid the body, right? Because that has to be a crime. It's not like no one fucking knew about it. And what are the chances of that realistically? Like, the chances are someone killed her and stuffed her in the back of a car. And chances are it was probably David. Maybe he was shit scared of it becoming public knowledge that he was having this predatory relationship with a young girl and wanted her out the picture. Maybe she was starting to threaten him a little bit. Maybe she was starting to say things like, I'm gonna tell the world how fucking horrible you were to me, how much of a predator you are. Maybe it wasn't even that far on her end. Maybe she just sort of started to allude to the fact that she might go public with their relationship, which would have fucked David up royally for sure. But then in my mind, it's also like, if it really was David behind all of this, then who would be so stupid as to murder someone and then put them in the back of your car and then leave that car unattended for months on end whilst you go on tour? Do you expect no one to find it? That is genuinely the strongest piece of evidence that I could think of to David having nothing to do with it. It would just be so unbelievably stupid of him. Like, when I say unbelievably stupid, I mean it. It's genuinely difficult to believe that David would be so stupid as to do that as his plan. But there's also a very high chance that, you know, maybe he killed her accidentally or something like that happened or whatever happened, right? She ended up dead. He panicked, stuffed her in the back of the car, out of sight, out of mind, and then threw the car away. And maybe he genuinely wasn't expecting it to get towed, right? Maybe he just thought, a ticket, I'll come back to it in a few months and it'll be fine. Maybe he really is just that dumb. Or maybe he was just so panicked that he just just killed someone, or at the very least that there is a dead body in front of him belonging to a girl that he used to have a relationship with, that he put it in a car, panicked, and went on tour. But then again, it's like, if you're that panicked to where you would put a dead body in the back of your car and leave it for months on end, how can you perform on tour as though nothing happened? Like, the videos of him on this latest tour are indistinguishable from tour videos of his earlier. Post dead body found in his car and pre-dead body found in his car, he acts the exact same way. So it's difficult to believe that he was that panicked or that guilty or that emotional at all, really. Which means three things, right? One of three things. One, he's a gigantic sociopath who is able to just stuff a dead body in the back of the car and act as though nothing's happened. Two, I would say this is the worst case scenario. He's used to doing things like this, and so it's just sort of don't faze him no more. And third, which is also semi-likely, he genuinely had nothing to do with this and is completely innocent, and so wasn't acting as though anything was wrong. I would say the first one might be the most likely, but again, I'm not making any definitive statements here or guilty or not guiltying anyone.
Isn't it true, Dave, that she was so decomposed, she had to be forensically identified? Isn't that true?
Absolutely correct, Nancy.
Yeah, to kind of frame this out a little bit, Nancy, her Celeste measurements, her weight specifically in life, you ready for this, was 120 pounds. The remains that they have are somewhere in the neighborhood of 70. So no, they could not have been able to actually visualize her and say, yeah, this is Celeste. This is who we've been looking for. No, they're going to go at this. I do understand that she has specific tattoos, and they were able to use that. I can only assume her family's involved in this.
Put him up, please. Okay, specifically one tattoo, a tiny tattoo.
Okay, so she was 120 pounds at the time of death, about 55 kilograms, which is a lot more reasonable for a girl of her size in the place where she lives. So for her to have gone down 50 pounds, it's like, fuck me, she really must have been in that car for a while for her body to decompose that much. When you lose like 24 kilograms of mass just from sitting there decomposing, that's, you know, it just adds to what I was saying earlier about, like, she must have been in there for at least as long as the Tesla was parked there. I will say, however, it's a fucking good thing that the finger didn't decompose, because that tattoo is the one identifying feature that they had of her. Actually, no, that's not true, because it was an anonymous tip. I wonder if they ever found the person who suggested that it might be Celeste. That's really fucking interesting, actually. Like, who the fuck knew, and why would they report it anonymously? Quite scary, actually. Because that's someone who must have known about the dead body. I guess maybe it was posted online somewhere. You know, they'd have to have come across it and called TMZ, and I don't know, man. It's scary. Really scary. I wonder who that was. I don't think we'll ever find out, but I really do fucking wonder.
At this point, it is guilty until proven innocent, because why was he dropping Easter eggs every step of the way? On September 7th, David announced that he would be dropping a brand new album with 15 songs on it. But keep in mind, September 7th was the day that Celeste turned 15 years old. He also made this post last year on TikTok saying, who had the best outfit in 2016?
See, this is what I tried not to do with this video, by the way, is these fucking, like, Vine boom sound effects, like stupid edits, in a situation where a girl has died. When there are videos garnering 15 million views, and you're a girl on TikTok, who this girl, Celeste, definitely had friends who are going to be on TikTok, and because they knew her, their For You page is their For You page, they're gonna find videos talking about her. And if you're talking about a girl, a friend who has just died with fucking Vine boom sound effects, I don't know, it's just disrespectful in my opinion. That's why there really aren't many true crime channels that actually, you know, do it respectfully. Even some of the biggest on this platform, I'm really not a fan of. Like, I cannot fucking handle that shit. Again, a little bit off topic, but what's being said here is interesting. Like, the new album was announced on the 7th of September, the same day as Celeste's birthday, and also the same day Romantic Homicide was released a few years earlier. It does seem as though David has a strange infatuation with September the 7th.
Comment. Please adopt me, I need it. At 0907. Should we? That's September 7th. So it seems like this might have been Celeste's burner account. And if you look at his Discord chat, someone asked, David, are you happily married or single? Me and @deleted_user got a kid on the way. And you might think this could be anybody. This doesn't prove anything. But this same user has a ring on the finger and a tattoo, or maybe just pen, but it says David right here.
Yeah, that's Celeste Herrera, not Celeste Hernandez, that one. Also, looking at that tattoo, it looks a little bit more like henna, now that that don't look permanent.
Guys, so there's a new update. If you go to David's TikTok all the way back to February of 2024, click on this video where he says, me to everyone I tricked into thinking this was a love song. If you click in the comments and you scroll all the way down, there's an account named Robin River who said this about him way back last year when before all this blew up. It says, waiting for LAPD to get your ass for messing with a 13-year-old girl.
Is that comment edited? No, it's not edited. That's fucking insane, that. Once again, it just seems as though there were certain people maybe in or around the business, maybe friends of friends, maybe even friends of friends of friends who knew about the situation and were probably told, stay silent about it, this isn't for the public to know, don't fucking tell anyone. A lot of them probably just couldn't fucking help it and started talking about it publicly, even if it was in sort of softer versions like TikTok comments, for example. And that does add credibility to the idea that he was maybe paying people off to not talk about it so publicly, because when you learn something of that, you know, of that irk about someone like David who's that popular, it's inevitable someone is eventually going to leak it. So it must take a lot of fucking damage control to keep that shit under wraps. You can also imagine how maybe David got so sick of keeping it a secret after having to do it for so long and pay so many people off and deal with all these comments of people that he's never met before who know about it because a friend of a friend has told someone, that he would, you know, pent up enough anger to eventually kill her. I know that's like ultra conspiracy theory mode. I don't know if that's what happened once again. I don't even know if he's the one responsible for the death, or I don't even know if he knew anything about her. At best, he's just a pedophile. And the fact that that's at best says a lot. Because at worst, he's a pedophile, murderer, conspirator, briber. Someone posted a picture of a Justice for Celeste post with a comment from David just saying okay, and they claim that it was deleted right after. Eventually, creators are able to see deleted comments up to 2 minutes after it's been deleted. That's why I believe this is true. I personally don't believe that this is a real comment. Like, there is just no way in hell. I'll throw it out there because, you know, well, no, there's no way. Look, the like button is like slightly to the right as opposed to, no, but that could just be because of the number. Let me go on TikTok and see if that's actually how the likes work. It's on the phone, to be fair. I'll check on my phone. Yeah, that is how likes work, to be fair. So it does look, if it's fake, they've done a good job at it, but I just, there's no way that's real. There's just no way. Maybe he did it accidentally, if it is real. There's no way he did that on purpose, like. Is he just playing with fire? Is he wanting to get caught a little bit? Is he just wanting to, like, sort of stir the pot, fire up a flame? Or if I just post a mere okay to this really heartbreaking post, maybe people will pay more attention and, you know, come after me a bit more. It will cause drama. It will cause hysteria. Maybe he is just sort of an agent of chaos in that sort of way. But again, who fucking knows? I doubt that it's real, though. Here's a clearer picture of Celeste Herrera compared to Celeste Hernandez. They do actually look quite similar. Some people are even conspiring that the reason he was dating Celeste Herrera is to confuse people about Celeste Hernandez. You know, they look relatively similar. They have the same name even. They even have similar surnames. Is that out of the question? No, in fact, it might be too coincidental to actually be a coincidence. Like, I'm willing to believe that he would definitely have a woman like Celeste Herrera around him purely to confuse people about the information, because he knows that he can't hide it forever. So if he has a girlfriend named Celeste Herrera who is of age, then when it eventually does come to light what happened, he can use her as sort of a smokescreen or an attempt to hide the truth. It's a shit idea, obviously, but there's not really much he can do. A neighbor of David's actually made the claim that Celeste was living with David weeks before the death.
Eyewitness News has learned that she was found wearing a tube top, black leggings, a yellow metal bracelet, and metal stud earrings. She also had a tattoo on her right index finger that said, shh.
What's up, everybody? It is David here. We are back with another David Prayers video. I know it's been a minute. Just got back from performing at the Caliucci's concert. Shout out to Caliucci's. But shout out to Jesus, too. Today, I'm going to talk about imposter syndrome as a Christian, especially in my eyes.
An immediate neighbor has now claimed in a chat with the US Sun that he saw the singer and Celeste all the time and believed they lived together at home. The resident, who wishes not to be named, said he returned to Los Angeles from a trip this week and was stunned to learn of the news. They are pretty quiet. I never saw police there and didn't hear them partying or anything. Nothing wild. He was with the girl regularly all the time, he said, recognizing Rivas from photographs. I just saw them a couple months ago. I'm not sure, but I thought they were just kids, like a couple aged 18, 19. I had no idea. It's crazy. I'd be in my car and we'd acknowledge each other, say hi. That was about it when they were heading to the store or whatever. I mean, once again, that's just, imagine being that person and learning what's actually happened, not even knowing who David was, like this superstar and murderer, apparently. So again, definitely does not paint a good picture for David here, that he was most likely one of, at the very least, the last people that was with Celeste before her death. I mean, they were fucking living together, and the car was parked right outside his house. There's no way he didn't know about it. There's just no way. But look, I'm honestly running in circles here a bit with this whole, we really don't know what happened, but like, we can make a pretty good guess without jumping to any definitive conclusions or making any sort of conclusive statements, if that makes sense. We're coming to the end of the video now. I do want to make it clear that I am not saying anyone is guilty or not guilty. I have my fucking suspicions though. Like, if I was a jury, I think I know what direction I would be headed, but I'm not a jury. I'm just a fucking YouTuber, so I don't want to, you know, go that far. I'm comfortable going as far as David was a pedophile. That much is pretty much, like, that much is set in stone. And if that happens to not be true either, then, like, I guess I'll fucking delete my channel. So in conclusion, David is a complete, like, utter piece of shit, scumbag, evil bastard. It goes way beyond the dude not deserving a career. The dude deserves fucking jail time. And, like, you know, serious jail time as well. I'm pretty comfortable in saying that he knew about the body. Like, it's pretty difficult to argue against the fact that he knew about the body at the very least. He is also probably the one that put it in the back of the car. The only bit I'm not very comfortable concluding is if he was the one that killed her. But even then, it's like, in my mind, 95% he's the one that did it. And I have my suspicions as to what the reason could be. Maybe she was about to go public with it, or too much shit was going on. But the more I talk about it and the further I go with speaking about this conclusion, the less, you know, certain I get of things. I really do hope I was, you know, relatively respectful in this video and didn't piss anyone off, or at the very least piss as little people off as possible. I always think true crime is a strange genre on YouTube, because YouTube's biggest strength is YouTube's biggest weakness, which is that anyone can pick up a camera and be a YouTuber. You know, you don't need to be a proper journalist with actual experience in journalism and ethics and control. You know, proper journalist, well, ideally, you'd think, put a lot more effort into telling stories like these and relaying information and making it as respectful as possible for people who may be directly involved in the case, you know, family members, friends who may be watching the coverage. I feel like YouTubers forget that all the time, especially on TikTok when videos go so viral, that people who are involved in this case, people who knew Celeste, people who know David, are going to watch these videos. Without getting too personal, this is the end of the video now, so not a lot of you will hear it, but I have known someone who was in a case that was widely covered by true crime YouTubers. Obviously not going to say any specifics about that, by the way, but whilst I was recording this one, in my mind I was thinking constantly, like, what would I have wanted in the videos that I was watching when, you know, the situation that I experienced happened. And again, I do really hope that I've done a decent job at just relaying all the information to you and hopefully allowing you to come to your own conclusions, right? As much as I've delivered my opinion alongside what I've said as well. End of the day, I'm not just an emotionless robot who is here purely to deliver information. I am still a commentary channel, and so providing commentary to the news that I am relaying is my job as well. But, yeah, there were no Vine booms, so hopefully that's a plus. If you've made it this far and you did enjoy the video, as always, a like and subscription would very much be appreciated. I hope that justice is served and that we find out what happened here for the sake of Celeste, for the sake of the people who loved her, and that's pretty much it. So I'll see you all in the next video, which will likely be a much cheerier, more usual one. So yeah, bye.